and welcome to the Takarazuka fan podcast, where fans from around the world get together to flail and talk about Takarazuka. My name is Heidi. I am a guest host today, and actually I was on a podcast once almost a year ago with when we talked about Namifu and Heidi, so you may remember me from that. And with me today are
Lella
and Carly.
Oh, I forgot to mention that I'm in Boston, and
I'm still in New York.
Well, I'm in Tokyo, so yay!
Yay!
Welcome back, Heidi.
Thank you for having me again. So I'm really excited to be back on podcast. So today we are going to be talking about kind of the logistics of mostly about getting tickets, but we also kind of wanted to talk about where to how to logistics on getting to Japan and finding places where to stay around the theaters and that like that. So we're going to talk very briefly about that. But we've had a lot of people asking, how do you even get tickets to go see a show? So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about our happy things. So Lella, do you want to go first?
Yes, so I have an amazing happy thing. Well, in my opinion, it's amazing. But I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Koma's Ochakai for All for One. And Koma is in Senka, and she plays, what do you call it? Is it Lady Montpensier? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's correct.
It was amazing. She was having such a good time. It wasn't even like, oh hey, I'm doing my job kind of thing. It was like, oh my gosh, we're having a great time together. It was just, yeah, she was fantastic. And there was even a moment when, because they had this section where she came out, she went away. She didn't know anything. She didn't know anything about it. They her staff just suddenly went, all right, so we need you to go back, to go out back. And she's like, wait, what? Where am I going? and then they were like, yeah, go through that door. She's like, I'm leaving the room.
We need you to leave for a minute.
And then she came back in after a while, and she was wearing this doctor's outfit, and she was Koma sensei. And then her fans had written problems, questions that they would
this
to
is
ask.
a thing.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Yeah, the problem corner.
Where they asked her for advice or whatever.
Yeah, and then she'd pull a question at random out of the pile, and I think the third lady she got or something like that. I mean, first of all, the first lady was completely, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, and she was kind of shrinking away from her when she was holding out the microphone to her, and she was like, no, this is not it was so precious. And then the lady, she was so embarrassed, and she was looking away, and then Koma went off on a ramble, and then she was like, are you listening? It's really funny. But the third lady, I can't remember exactly what the question was about, and yeah, probably shouldn't share that. That was probably her thing. So, but suddenly Koma went oh, I've been reading your letters, and that thing, you should really go to work and da 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 da. Just whoa. I mean, the simple fact that she's reading the letters and then remembering things and knowing who she is. I'm if I was her in her fan club, I would have died, or if I was that lady, I would have died. So yeah, Koma is amazing.
That's amazing. Is that a thing that they've been doing, the advice thing lately? Because Kiki did that at hers as well.
A lot of people have that's just, I don't know if it's a thing or why it's a thing, but a lot of people do that. Yeah.
So interesting.
I think it might not be possible to do if you have a really, really big ochakai. If the logistics will work out, but
well, when Kiki did it, she just drew questions out of a hat and just answered them at at her little podium.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot too. But like this specifically, the like now I'm going to solve your problems thing.
Oh, that
happens a lot for some
yeah,
reason. No. But yeah, like drawing questions out of a hat is pretty normal.
Yeah, yeah.
My happy thing is that Diamond survived her first show as top star. Not that I like thought she wouldn't or anything like that, but it seems to have gone spectacularly, and I'm very happy and very proud of her and obsessed with her. So.
Congratulations, Simon! You made it.
That's a happy thing.
Oh my gosh, did you see the video of that, of the Amber Hued Rain? Was it the last day or was it, I don't know, but she almost started crying during the speeches. She was just
well, I haven't watched the last day yet, but during the Shonichi, she like fully cried.
Oh, but she said that she was really she said that she was shiawase, so she's like happy with where she is in life. It's not just like temporary happiness. She's ridiculously happy about being top star and just being her at the moment. So it's like, yay! Oh my god! Yep.
That's so cute.
Yay, Daimon!
Yay, Daimon!
Heidi, what's your happy thing?
My happy thing is October Graph came out recently. And it has so it's featuring Kiki and Saki on the cover, and so of course they've got like their special like portraits and shoots, photo shoot photos inside, and I have a friend who's in Japan right now, also from Boston, who picked me up a copy and like sent me like cell phone pictures of the photos, and I promptly like freaked out about them like for at least a half an hour before I went to bed the other night, and then I've like constantly gone back and look at them over and over again. But one of my favorite things that she sent me that's in the issue is that at the very back of but close to the end of the magazine, they usually do those photos that are like kind of fun photos from the day when they did the photo shoots, and there's one of Kiki and Saki are forming 93 with their hands because they're both 93rds, and it's just so cute and so precious, and I always love seeing the classmates like do fun things together, so it's very exciting, and I love, basically, if you're a 93rd, I automatically love you. So, so that's been my happy thing this week. So, yay! So, okay. So, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about kind of logistics of going to the show and things like that. Mainly how to talk about or how to get tickets. But first, we're going to kind of briefly mention some kind of tips about even like getting to Japan and traveling within Japan, and some places where to stay, kind of more specifically by the theaters. So, for example, the last couple of years, my partner and I have gone back to Japan specifically to see Takarazuka. So we've organized a couple of trips that really aim to go to travel between the two theaters and whatnot. So there's a lot of information online just getting to Japan and tips about how to travel around and everything else. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. So we'll put some links in the blog post for the episode for some suggested places where you can go to find like cheap airfare or places to book your hotel rooms and things like that. But for now, I think we're just going to kind of touch on some general tips for travel, and then we'll get to tickets in a little bit. So
let's start with Takarazuka, I guess.
Yeah. So like kind of recommended times to go. I know Carly and we were just there in the summertime, and you live there, so
do not recommend. I mean, when you're talking about recommended times to go,
yeah.
Do you really have a choice? Because it's not about the season. It's about the Takarazuka schedule.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
But if you are, I guess, like a free floater and you like absolutely don't have a favorite and just want to see some Takarazuka, don't go in the summer. Don't do it. Particularly July and August.
Yeah.
June is the rainy season in a lot of places, but like temperature wise it's typically okay. But no, July and August are absolutely terrible.
No, don't recommend.
They're not great, especially if you're touristing, because, I mean, if you're working, then you will go from your cool air-conditioned house and then go to your cool air-conditioned workplace, and you'll be fine, you know? But if you are touristing and you're going on excursions and things, yeah, it's very hot.
Also, just like, I don't know, whenever I go to the theater on a 6,000 degree summer day, it seems like all of the pretty little Japanese women around me are having absolutely no trouble with the temperature.
Right.
Like, their hair is perfectly set and they're not sweating at all, even though they're wearing like long sleeves and tights. And I'm wearing like as little clothing as possible. And I'm just a like melted disaster, which is not good for your self-esteem.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when it rains. Somehow I'm always end up looking like a complete mess when it rains, and then there are these women who are just like they look like it was bright and sunny outside. So it's really it's crazy. But so for example, when we were there this last month, we went to Murdo over like the week, so of course we had Wednesday free because the theater is closed, and we had these grand plans like, oh, maybe we'll go to Kyoto, or maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that, and we ended up just going to Osaka for some shopping, and even that was a little bit of a conundrum because it was 107 degrees at 10 in the morning in Takarazuka City. So, yeah, if you don't have a favored actress or troupe that is in the summertime and you can avoid going in the summer, highly recommend avoiding that at all costs.
The fall is really beautiful. I've been there in the fall a couple times, and not only is it beautiful, but it's late. Well, I guess that's all relative. I live on the east coast of the United States, the northeast United States, and like the leaves usually change, I don't know, mid-October, and it gets cold pretty early. I've been in Japan in November, like mid-November, in places the leaves are just starting to change and it's still pretty warm. Not like hot, but like you only need a light jacket kind of warm. So especially if you live somewhere where like it's already disgusting in November, like New York.
Or Boston.
Or Boston. Japan is really, really, really pleasant in the fall. And I mean, in terms of Takarazuka, probably like if you can thread the needle just right, peak time is that like 3-day span when the cherry blossoms are blooming in the spring, because the area in front of the theater is absolutely beautiful.
They do actually have charts of when they think that the cherry blossoms will bloom in different parts of Japan. Like every year, it's kind of like a weather chart, but for cherry blossoms, and they have. Yeah, it's a prediction that they release every year, so you should be able to find it online. And I don't know, they might do that for momiji as well, for the autumn colors, like when the leaves turn.
Yeah, they do that in New England here as well for the leaves, because it's really popular spot for going to see fall leaves. So I also, one of our first couple trips were in the fall, and it's absolutely beautiful if you can get out to some of the temples to go see the leaves changing. And you'll actually enjoy being outside and maybe hiking a mountain or two like we did the first year.
Imagine that.
So,
do we recommend going in the winter?
I've been there in the winter. It's not great. Like, it's cold. It's less cold than New York in the winter. So, that, like, in terms of that, it's not terrible, but the things that are terrible are, it's harder to pack because winter clothes take up a lot of room. And the main thing is a lot of Japanese buildings, I guess. Like, if you're staying in a hostel, or maybe like a regular hotel wouldn't have this problem, but I've stayed in a lot of places, and I guess this is a problem in both the winter and the summer, but like you have your own air conditioning / heating unit in your room,
Mm-hmm.
but there is no temperature regulation in the hallways whatsoever.
Mm.
So if you're cheap and trying to save enough money for Takarazuka and you're staying someplace that has a shower in the hallway that you share with a bunch of people, like I always do, going to shower in the winter is unpleasant.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. But there are plenty of places you can stay where that's like a complete non-issue.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of a good segue. Maybe let's talk a little bit about places to stay
yes.
in both areas. So,
Did we not want to mention holidays?
Oh yeah. Let's mention holidays really quickly.
Yeah. So Japanese holidays are different, obviously, like national holidays. Golden Week's probably the big one, where I feel like that's usually the end of May. Something. I think it's in May. I don't know what part of May it's in, but I'm pretty sure it's in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like any of the holidays are really a problem, other than in that like travel prices tend to jump.
Yeah.
So, but like in terms of being able to get tickets, and I mean, maybe finding some place to stay would be a little more difficult than usual.
Yeah.
But
or like traveling on the trains.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's just prices, I think.
Yeah. I think Obon is pretty big as well, but the thing with Obon is that people normally go home.
Yeah.
And Obon is in August, and so it's Obon and New Year's that are like the two. I mean, that's like Christmas for us.
Yeah.
But so everyone has that time off, but normally they go home, so therefore there's not that much competition over theater tickets.
Well, I guess in terms of Takarazuka, it's not a big deal, but if you're thinking about doing other stuff, some things might not be open because people do tend to get time off, and they do tend to spend it with their families.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so if you're doing other things, like other maybe touristy things or whatnot, those might be sometimes that would be a little more difficult to manage on that from that perspective. So in terms of like going to see like theater, the shows, it usually doesn't have an impact, but other types of travel you might want to do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like places to stay. I know, so when we've gone to Tokyo the last couple times, we've found some business hotels that are actually pretty cheap. There's one fairly close to the theater. It's about a 10 to 15 minute walk that we've stayed in a couple of times, and it's actually not bad. It's about $100 American dollars a night, and so when you split it between two people, it's pretty good. The only thing is that, as with many places in Japan, it's pretty small. So for two people, it's like we shared. It's basically I think a full bed size, so it's not huge. So for two people, it works pretty well. There's not a lot of space, but it's you don't spend a lot of time in the hotel room as it is.
It's for crashing at night, and that's about it.
Yeah. Or I haven't stayed in any really hostels in Tokyo area. I don't know if either of you have.
I have. It's been a little while. The first time I went to Tokyo, I stayed in a couple of different hostels. I noticed that, like compared to 4 years ago, there's a lot more hostels in Tokyo, and they're like a lot more hipstery. Like it's almost like there's like a weird like conceptual hostel movement. So they're getting cooler, they're getting more conceptual, and they're getting more expensive. Like I remembered when I looked the first time I went, and I was like super on a budget the first time I went, so I only stayed in like dorm rooms. So I was looking at like 2,000, 2,500 yen a night, which is like really, really cheap.
Not bad.
Yeah, I stayed in a private room, like a really tiny private room in like one of these like hipstery hostels I think it was in Kawasaki last year. And that it was more like, I think it was still under the equivalent of $100 American a night, but it was much more up there. Lately, my favorite thing to do in Tokyo is Airbnb. I don't typically do it in the rest of Japan for some combination of like, depending where it is, it's either just not convenient to where I want to be, or there's a lot of cities where Airbnb actually tends to be more expensive than a business hotel. But this year I was in Japan for 2 months. I like rented a short-term apartment in the Kansai area, but I went to Tokyo 3 separate times and stayed in Airbnbs. And it's pretty easy to find a pretty nice Airbnb for under 6,000 yen a night. So I recommend that. And Japan is pretty, like, I still, because I'm like a woman traveling alone, like I only do the full house ones, and I only do ones that have like a ton of reviews as opposed to the new ones just in case. But like I've honestly never had a bad experience, and it's pretty safe as far as I can tell.
Japan is a pretty safe country, so as long as you're a little bit careful, then you're probably not going to run into trouble, I don't think.
Yeah, I know, sort of a tangent, but there's been articles about how Japan's trying to figure out how to increase its amount of hotel space, especially with the Olympics coming up. So that's kind of been, I think, a pain point for the country in general, is finding a place for all these massive increase in tourists, and how that works in their zoning laws and stuff. So
wherever you stay in Tokyo, like, you don't have to be in walking distance of the theater, and that's kind of like a very downtown area. But I do recommend staying on the Hibiya line.
Yeah, that will make your life much easier. Or the Ginza line,
Yeah, or the Ginza line. Both of those will drop you off pretty close to the theater.
Yeah, or the Yudakucho station on Yamanote is pretty close as well, but Hibiya has it's right there on the corner. So
I mean, any line that goes past Hibiya Station, really, because there are 4 different ones, I think.
That's true. They all go in the Hibiya Station.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever I'm like looking up Tokyo accommodations, I'm like, Hibiya line map. Find something that's on it somewhere. But yeah, there are lots of different metro lines that you can technically take.
Yeah, so feasibly you can stay pretty much anywhere in Tokyo, obviously, and get there. But if you want to kind of minimize your like travel time, and say especially if you're going to see a really popular show and you want to do some tachimi, which we'll talk about later, not having or like being able to get to that train really early in the morning is probably pretty key. So
I live on the Shinjuku line, and a friend and I took the first train there in the morning, and it was on a Saturday. It wasn't, I mean, it was all for one, but weirdly enough, it wasn't sold out in terms of, like, they still had Biseki. I was a bit surprised.
Oh, wow.
So we were actually able to get seat tickets for that one. But we took the first train, which was at about 5 in the morning, and I think we were about 20th in line. So, I mean, if you catch the first train, that's entirely possible even on a Saturday. So
Takarazuka is a little different because it's like, obviously it's not Tokyo. Takarazuka is kind of, for anyone who hasn't been there, like the top of a triangle between Kobe and Osaka. So you could stay in either of those places, but it's gonna probably take you like 20 minutes to a half an hour to commute from there to Takarazuka.
Yeah.
And like stuff like Airbnb, business hotels, like there's not a wealth of them in Takarazuka city itself like there are in Tokyo.
There's not really a wealth of anywhere to stay in Takarazuka.
That's true.
And especially, I don't know when I'm assuming they won't tear down the hotel until the other one is open. I guess I don't really know their plans with that, but they're rebuilding the Takarazuka hotel in the parking lot next to the theater.
There are some like high-end hotels in Takarazuka.
Yeah.
Like I don't, again, like you just said, I don't know what the construction plans are for the Takarazuka hotel, but there's also the Wakamizu Hotel, which has a beautiful onsen on the top that they fill with fresh roses on Saturdays.
I want to go so bad.
Highly recommend that. And like the Washington Hotel, if you're doing like another a larger sightseeing tour of Japan and you're just in Takarazuka for like a day, it might make sense to splurge on a nice hotel room.
Yeah.
But there's also a couple hostels.
Yeah.
Have you guys stayed in the hostels?
Yeah, we stayed in Takarazuka this past month.
Oh, that's the new one.
The new
right?
one, yeah. It's like right across the street from Angel Love, but also across the street.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's the one I haven't stayed in, so perfect.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was pretty easy. But it's like kind of down a side street right across from the music school, so it's literally like you walk 2 minutes down the road and you're right at the theater. So it's super convenient, and obviously most of the people who are staying there, I think it's only women, so it's all women that are allowed to stay there. So anyone who's there is pretty much going to go see a show. And when we went, there were only 2 other girls the first day we got there. There's not a lot of privacy. So I will say, if that's something that's really important to you, it's probably not a good option. But we stayed there from like, we got in Monday and we left on Friday, and it was like $100 each for the whole thing.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, it's really cheap. There's like the person, you just kind of walk in and you just hand them your money in cash, and they will just there'll be a guy who walks you through like kind of the basics of some of the rules or not rules, but like they lock the door at like 12 o'clock at night or whatever, and just some general like things about staying in the hostel and using the bathroom or the common areas or whatever. So so yeah, again, there's not a ton of privacy. It's like 2 rooms with a bunch of bunk beds, but again, when we went, it wasn't really that busy at all, so it worked out really well. And it's really close to the theater, so it was nice for what we had. I'd recommend anyone who's, again, not afraid of having potentially several other people around. But yeah, it was a good spot, and I really enjoyed it. So I would say that's a good one. And which one have you stayed in?
I've stayed in the other 2, actually. One of them is Pucci House, which is a similar distance from the theater. It's like, if you walk past the theater towards, I'm saying this like people are going to know what I'm talking about. It's near the theater. It's like around the corner from the theater. It's, I guess, a little bit on the expensive side for a hostel. I forget exactly, but I want to say it's in like the 6,000 to 8,000 yen a night range. But all of the rooms they're private rooms with like a bathroom in the room, so they are more private. And there's 2 beds in a room, so if you're going with somebody and you're splitting that cost, obviously it's still like really pretty cheap. And it's also, I think all of them are all female, actually, now that you mentioned that. And the other one is Renoir, which is also walking distance from the theater, but it's not like on the Hananomichi. It's like off. it's off a little bit. If you've ever been there and you've ever seen the round one with the giant bowling pin on the top of the building, it's like over there.
The bowling pin. That's how I always know I'm getting close on the train.
Right?
Oh, there's a bowling pin. I'll see the theater now.
That one, I believe, has 2 options. You can have a shared room or a private room. Their room is really kind of like a generous description of what it is. It's like a big room on the second floor of this building that's partitioned off with like cubicle walls. So you have your own little space with a bed and a like desk mirror and SkyStage TV in it, but the walls don't go all the way to the ceiling. So like you have to be really kind of super quiet to respect your neighbors. And the bathroom is shared, I believe. So yes, the bathroom is definitely shared. There is not a bathroom in your like cubicle room.
I kind of want to go there now just because that seems like a very interesting experience.
And they make you breakfast. Both Pucci House and Renoir I haven't stayed there in like a couple years now, but both of them are family run and everyone's really sweet and it's nice.
Yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah, Takarazuka I think is a little more bare bones compared to those, but it was still pretty good. But that SkyStage is pretty important.
Yeah. Neither of them have Wi-Fi,
Oh.
which was now every time I go, because I learned my lesson, I rent Wi-Fi. But the first time I was like, no, I can't talk to anybody, and I have so many feelings.
Oh yeah, that's another very important thing. Is when you go to Japan, if you don't get like if you don't have like an international phone plan, like definitely rent a pocket Wi-Fi.
Yes.
We'll put a link in the blog post.
Definitely.
That's super key. Some people don't want to use it, but Japan, there's not Wi-Fi like everywhere in Japan like there is in other places.
Yeah, it's super annoying.
So.
And I find even though it's increasing, like in the Tokyo Metro and stuff, like a lot of the public Wi-Fi just doesn't work on my phone.
It's really hard
and
to
there's so
connect
little
to.
public
really
Wi-Fi to
slow.
begin with. So
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Whereas you can just rent one. Yeah.
Starbucks is like the oasis. in the desert.
But no, now the one next to the theater is gone in Tokyo. So sad. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I think. I will say. Last year, Al and I stayed in the Takarazuka hotel, which it's a little expensive, so it was a little bit of a splurge. But we were only there for like a couple of nights. But there's a reason why they're building another one.
It's pretty old, right?
Yeah, it's super dated. Like they haven't updated like any of their furniture probably since, I don't know, at least the 70s or 80s. Like our end tables had these like built-in like radios.
Oh my
I
God,
wish I'd
that's
taken a picture.
amazing.
They were so ridiculous. And then like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like beautiful kind of inside, but there's some places where you can tell like it's kind of like it's a little past its prime. So. But
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
It's a time capsule. You walk in and you're suddenly 30 years in the past.
Pretty much. We had a nice like view of the theater from our room though, so it was very aesthetic. So, okay, so I guess moving right along. Maybe kind of like getting in between like Tokyo and Osaka / Takarazuka if you are trying to kind of make the most of your trip when you go, depending on how much time you have, if you can move in between the two cities to kind of catch at least two different troops. And if you're crazy like we were last year, you'll see three between the national tour and the Valhalla show. So last year we did 8 shows in 10 days, so that was exciting.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
3 troops in a 10-day trip is really impressive.
It was, we got tickets to I Love Einstein last minute, thanks to some help, but we went for Meetown, and then we also saw Elizabeth, but then also we're Hanagumi fans, so we had to go see Hanagumi, and we timed it such that we can see them in Saitama and in Valhalla, so it was nuts. But so yeah, if you're moving in between the two cities, there are a few different ways you can do it. Obviously, you can take the Shinkansen, the trains, which can be a little expensive. If you get the JR pass and you're able to make use of that if you're doing other things, that can be pretty economical, especially if you're going to be moving to other cities to do, again, other like tourist stuff. Usually if you use it more than like a round trip ticket between Tokyo and Kyoto or Osaka for the 1 week, for example, that's a pretty good use of it. You can also do, I've done overnight buses, which are, can be cheap if you book them far ahead enough in advance. Some of the really fancy buses like can still run you like $120 one way. And then you get like you'll get these little shades and like super wide seats and that will recline all the way, and you can get super fancy. At that point I'm just take the train, but
right. That's not enough of a price difference. The Shinkansen between Osaka and Tokyo, for point of reference, I think is 14,000 yen, which is like $140.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would not want to be on a bus all night for $20 less than that, no matter how nice the bus is.
Yeah. So I guess the only kind of way that you would save money is that if you do the night bus, you don't have to spend money on the hotel for the night as well. But so for example, going from Tokyo to Osaka, it's about an 8-hour trip. And usually you'd board the bus. They have a couple different places, but we always got on at Tokyo Disneyland area. You can get on the bus there, and you can book ahead. There's a Willer Express site in English that's pretty easy to use. You can book your tickets that way ahead of time. And it will run you probably anywhere between 4,000 to, say, the cheaper ones, 4,000 to 8,000 yen or so. So if you book them far enough in advance, they'll be cheaper. And of course, different times of days. Different days can be a little more expensive than others. But yeah, and then it'll drop you off actually pretty close, maybe about a 10-minute walk to Umeda Station in Hankyu Umeda Station in Osaka. And then you just kind of walk across and you'll walk to the station, and you can go up to Takarazuka from there. But you'll get in, if you leave at like 10-ish, they'll probably get you in around 6 or so. And they do some stops along the way at some highway rest areas if you need to get off and do your thing. So yeah, if you're looking for like a cheap way to get to Osaka, or like get to and from them, it's a pretty good option. If you can manage it, because it can be pretty uncomfortable being on a bus for that long. So, but otherwise, the trains are obviously a good way to go as well. So
you can also fly. It's a short flight, and I've never flown between Osaka and Tokyo because I avoid flying at all costs. But, I've heard that there are discount airlines that are pretty cheap. Not necessarily in the most convenient location, but very cheap. I think Peach Air is one of them. And again, like any airplane ticket, it depends on like when you look and how far in advance you look, but flying is an option if you're cool with that.
Yeah. And since it's domestic as well, they're not all that hyped up on the security and stuff either, so...
Yeah, that was a huge shock to me the first time I flew in Japan domestically. I had to go from Osaka to Sendai, which is like just a little too far and too expensive on the train. So I like convinced my very airplane phobic self to just fly to Sendai. And I got there an hour and a half in advance, like you do. And I was waiting for my friends who, like, 20 minutes before departure were still not there. And I was, like, completely freaking out. And then they got there and they were like, why did you get here so early? They don't even, like, look at your passport. You can just go in with a gallon of shampoo in your purse and they don't even care. So, domestic Japanese flying is, like, a pretty chill experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering, though, about the night buses. Sorry to go back to that, but how much leg space do you have in the general bus?
It depends on the seat, obviously. So if you go with the cheaper ones, it's not too bad. It's a little better than your average airplane seat, but it's not great. Like, there's a little bit more room. It's not like train width either, so it's kind of in between like an airplane and a train. I'm about 5'7", 5'7", so it's fairly comfortable for me in general. You have more space than you do sitting at the very top of the Tokyo balcony. Tokyo balcony, if that's what you're wondering. But it's long, and usually they have footrests. I think most of them did, but even so, like it gets a little uncomfortable after a while. So, so yeah, if you're like physically capable of being able to kind of withstand that, it's a good cheap option. But otherwise, the trains are generally much more comfortable. So,
but you kind of have to prep for it as though you were going to go on an 8-hour flight kind of thing.
Yeah, very similar. Like they'll put all your luggage down below, like your big bags or whatever. You can carry some other stuff with you, but it's pretty much kind of like that. But maybe a little more comfortable to sleep, I guess. Yeah. So
okay.
Do we have any other notes about traveling around? What about like traveling? Does anyone have anything to mention, like traveling within the cities?
So there are different cards depending on which city you're in. In Kansai, they use the Ikoka card. And you basically get the card just so that you can put money in it and then swipe it whenever you go into or exit the subway or when you get on or off a bus. The buses in Tokyo and Kyoto at least are different as well. You know, I had a very weird cultural experience. As a Kyoto person, I had a weird Tokyo moment, which is like very strange. It wasn't because I was a foreigner. It was because I was a Kyoto person, But anyway, so in Kansai, it's the ikoka, and you pay the same amount as you would if you just got the tickets all the time. However, it's a lot easier not to constantly have to think about exactly which ticket you're supposed to get. And they will also automatically give you the cheapest fare. So
that's cool.
Yeah. But in Tokyo, there are two cards. One is called Pasmo, and that is the one that the subways sell. And then Suica is the one that JR is responsible for. But they both work exactly the same way. There's really no difference between the two.
Yeah. You can use them on both too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it covers the entire region, and it doesn't matter which one you get. It's just that it costs you 500 yen when you get one. And you have the option when you get it to get one that is connected to you personally. So if you lose it, they'll be able to get it back to you if it's found. But then I think there's some restriction that only you can use it or something like that. But so then it becomes a personal one. So, but I like it because it's a lot easier because you just swipe it and then you don't have to,
worry about buying tickets. Yeah, and you can also use them in like convenience stores as well. A lot of them can use it. So if you like accidentally put. Yeah, if you accidentally put like extra money on it, you meant to put like 1,000 yen as opposed to like 10,000 yen. You can still use it on other things. So
you can pay with it in some restaurants and stuff as well. So that's great. And so my weird cultural experience was that so the buses in Kyoto, you get on in the middle door, and then you get off in the front, and you pay when you get off the bus. And the first time after moving to Tokyo that I was going to ride a bus in Tokyo, I went to the middle door, and all the Tokyo people went to the front door, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. So in Tokyo, you get on in the front and you pay before you go and have a seat, and then you get off at the back. And if I'd gone to Tokyo straight away from Sweden, that would have not been a problem because that is how we do it at home. But because I'd lived in Kyoto for a year, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness.
So like I felt like a stupid foreigner for an entirely different reason. I was like, okay.
I have that problem every time I switch cities, and you're supposed to stand on the other side of the escalator.
Luckily in Osaka, because it's kind of, is it Kyoto? Wait, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been to Kyoto, but like, you stand on the left in Tokyo, and then like in Kansai, it's the right. But in one of the two cities, I can't remember, it's like you get people coming from all over the place, so everyone's standing on whichever side of the escalator. And that always amuses me so much.
I think actually the old ladies get to decide which side you stand on, because they just plant themselves, and that's it.
Amazing. Okay, I think any other notes? I think we've spent a good amount of time we'll get to doing tickets.
We're also going to put like a bunch of links on the blog post for this episode for like suggested websites you can look at for booking things like hostels and night buses and all of this stuff.
Yeah. So, and then of course if you have questions about any of the things we've mentioned, you can always drop us a note in the comments and we'll get back to you. So, okay, so we're going to move on to the exciting part of this episode is, of course, what most people are really concerned about is how you get tickets to go to the shows. And there are many, many, many different ways of doing this. So, I'll kind of like run through, do a quick little list of the different ways that you can get tickets, and we'll kind of talk about each individual one a little bit more in depth. So there you can of course get tickets through the website, the English website now. I've as of a couple years ago, I think, will do tickets as well. There's some little finicky things that we'll talk about a little bit later. You can also go through fan clubs, whether, of course, if you're in a fan club or if you know someone who's in a fan club, they can get you arranged for tickets. And then also you can do same-day tickets, which are tojitsuken, or tachimi, which is where you stand and watch. And then there's also kind of like secondhand tickets through resale websites, and also there are ways that you can buy tickets that people are trying to get rid of outside the theaters on the day of. So we're going to kind of go through all of those in a little more detail. So so let's start with kind of the general sale with the websites or like Ticketpia and those the watery machines as well. Has anyone used the English website?
Yes.
Me? Okay. Why don't you talk about that then?
Okay. So the English website came about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Not even quite a year and a half ago. Almost a year and a half ago. And it's this shiny new amazing thing, because until that happened, getting tickets was like kind of difficult and scary unless you had friends. Yeah. But now you can just straight up buy tickets online with your credit card in English. The catch is they reserve seats for use on the English website. Mm-hmm. In Tokyo, they're not the best. It's always the seats, I think it's like the 22nd or 23rd row on the first floor, and it's always like on the aisle right or left. So they're like back and side, but it's technically S-seki, and the levels are SS, which is like the front row center block, like the first 7 rows or something like that in the center block. And then S, A, and B, which are respectively, the prices differ between Takarazuka and Tokyo, but just to give you a rough idea, they're the 8,000 yen range for S, 5,000 yen range for A, and 3,000 yen range for B. So the thing that kind of sucks about the Tokyo seats is, even though they're terrible, they are S-seki. So like that's all you can get on the English site, and they're on the expensive side. Yeah. In Takarazuka, I don't know what the heck is going on. Because at first, they had amazing seats reserved for the English website. Like last year when I first started using the English website, they're the side block, so it's not like perfect view, but it was always between the 6th and the 10th or 11th row, which is awesome.
Oh, wow. I think we had like 12th row?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Like lately they've been still side block, but like 14th to 16th row or 22nd to 24th row. Yeah. But it seems to vary from show to show. Like I have a friend who got that 6th row foreigner seat to the second to last day of Chigi's Taidan, which is insane. And then they only had the 22nd to 24th row available for the next show, which was Yamataikoku no Kaze and Sante, which was not selling great because Yamataikoku did not have the best reviews. So that makes like no logical sense.
That's weird.
But yeah, so like, and you also can't pick your seat. So you're going in and it's kind of like they just give you the best available and you can take it or leave it.
Yeah. Well, they don't even tell you what seats you've gotten until you buy your ticket, and then you get the email and it's like, these are your seats. So.
Well, I think they show it to you before you actually like hit confirm pay, but like you have to put in all of your information and get to the end. So it's kind of like an annoying process. Like if you don't like your seat, you just like wasted all your time putting that in. And
maybe I just wasn't paying attention because we were gonna go see Yamatai no matter what. So
they show you like right before you click confirm, I think. But the nice thing is like for difficult shows, I keep seeing that like 23rd row up on resale sites for Tokyo all the time. So I think people have figured out to like go on the English site and buy them and just resell them. But so like, for example, I went to Japan this summer to see Bakumatsu Taiyoden, and I was only able to go to Tokyo, which was a ticket absolute nightmare. But I went online right when tickets went on sale, and the main ticket website wouldn't even load, but I was able to get 2 tickets on the English website before it sold out.
Nice.
So even though the seats are kind of bad, especially in Tokyo and especially for difficult shows, it's a pretty good option.
About the whole, like, if you're buying tickets on the Japanese main website, do not refresh your page, okay? Because that will put you at the end of the queue. So what they do is they put everyone in a queue from when they loaded the web page, and then it will automatically take you into the bit where you can choose your seats and everything. But if you refresh your page, that will then put you at the end of the line again.
Wow.
So every time you refresh your page, you're putting yourself at the back of that line. Yeah, so that's a really good thing to know.
But yeah, just to like back up from that a little bit, you can, if you're comfortable reading Japanese a little bit, and a lot of it is visual, it's not that hard. You don't have to use the English site. You can use the regular Japanese ticket site too, and just like pay with your credit card normally. They take foreign credit cards. It's nice because you can pick your seat. Like you can pick a seat block first, and then like they slowly narrow it down. So that's a little bit of a plus over the English site. I found but they do sell out faster, at least in Tokyo. If you have the luxury of going to Takarazuka on a weekday, often there's a lot of seats left on the regular Japanese site. I don't typically use it because, like, often the foreigner seats in Takarazuka are better than what's left over on the Japanese site. But I like, for example, I ended up using it for Hanagumi because for whatever reason, they boxed the foreigners into the 24th row. And then I went on the Japanese site and I got front row center on the second floor. So, like, that was way better. But yeah, you can just use a regular credit card. And then the only difference is when you pick up your tickets at the theater, for the English site, you get them from the person at the ticket window, and from the Japanese site, there's like automatic machines, but you can even change those machines to English, so like it's not difficult to figure out once you're in there.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that. For some reason, maybe they changed it, but I felt like you had to have maybe a Japanese address or something to use the Japanese site, so I guess I never tried.
Yeah, I think you used to, but they changed it recently.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we managed even to swipe tickets. Or no, we were not successful for getting tickets in Tokyo for Elizabeth last year on the English site. I tried very hard. I did not succeed. But even getting tickets for like for Yamataikoku, which was not really thought to be a very good show by the time it hit Tokyo. I had a hard time getting tickets for a couple of days that we had been aiming to go. We were able to get 2 days worth of tickets from the English website, and they were the exact same seats. So we saw the show 3 days in a row. Yeah.
Multiple shows, like, both times I went to Bakumatsu Toyodan this summer, I was in the exact same seat, and I was in the exact same seat last year when I bought Heidi on the English site. Like, it's always the same seat.
Oh my gosh. But it actually ended up being pretty fun because when they came out to the audience, like, we saw several of the same actresses a couple times, so you could kind of tell they were like, "You're back again." 3 days in a row. So it was a good time. But yeah, so let's talk about the the terminals in the convenience stores. I have never used them, so I don't know.
I have used those also. They're like manned ticket PIA counters in a lot of malls and stuff. There's one in the basement of HEP 5 in Osaka, which is, if you're in Umeda Station, it's the mall with the big red Ferris wheel. I've been there and gotten one, but they're like everywhere. Also, like, pretty much any convenience store will have a ticket machine, and it's like all attached to like the Xerox machine, whatever it's called. And I've only tried in 7-Eleven. I don't know if some of them are different, but it doesn't have an English button, and it took me like a year to figure out how to use it. But you go and there's just a like colorful button display, and you have to pick like, I want tickets, and then I want theater tickets, and then I want Takarazuka tickets, and then you search for the name of the show, and it shows you what's left. I don't like necessarily recommend that. Like if you're trying to get like a mid-run ticket to something that's been on sale for a while, I don't think, like, you're not going to get a wildly better ticket there than you would just on the website. Yeah. I can see, like, if you're in Japan when something is going on sale, and you know, like, the website's going to crash immediately or whatever, and you want to try your luck at your local convenience store, like, maybe you can buy a ticket faster than people waiting on the virtual line. That's worth a try, but in other circumstances, I don't see it as really necessary. Like, for example, this summer I failed to get a ticket to, like, when the tickets for Chigi's Last Day live viewing went on sale. They like released some extra tickets because it had been already all sold out. And the day that they went on sale, I tried to get an online ticket and the page wouldn't load. And I think Kitty, who is also on the podcast sometimes, went to a convenience store and she was able to get a ticket. Nice. Because, like, if you're there right at sale time, like, as long as they're not gone, that machine is not gonna, like, crash on you like the internet will. Yeah. So, again, it depends on, like, how many people are also doing that. But, I guess it's worth trying in that situation. I would recommend, like, familiarizing yourself with the machine beforehand if you're going to use it under stressful circumstances. Because it's kind of weird.
Like someone who's fluent in Japanese and can do it quickly or has had experience doing it.
I know in Lawson they've got the Loppy machines and if you use that, you need to have a code, so you need to have the code to the show because they won't let you search for it. So it has like L0532, and then that will like give you the show, and then you can choose which day, which time, and which kind of seat you want, but it won't let you pick your seat. It won't let you like say, oh, I want to be in this one. It will just like let you choose the price range, and then if you buy them there, then you get a little receipt for it, and then you pay in the cash register, right? So that's how that works. I mean, I haven't done the ticket Pia thing, but that sounds like it's a bit easier actually if you get to choose, okay, I want to go to a Takarazuka show, and then you can pick the show. Like that sounds a little bit easier to me.
Cool.
Yeah, they're definitely similar though.
They can't. I've only watched while someone looked for tickets, so I haven't ever used them myself. So they always seem a little intimidating if you aren't comfortable with your Japanase. So
I've used them for other stuff mostly. Like I bought a baseball ticket there once.
There you go.
Because I don't know how to get baseball tickets otherwise.
Cool. Okay, so next up we have fan club tickets. Lella, do you want to talk about fan club? You've been in one longer than me, so I don't know if you have more experience.
You apply for them in advance, and depending on the fan club, they will let you know, but sometimes they will not have contacted you, for, I think it's like 3 days before the show. If they haven't contacted you, then you can presume that you've got the ticket. But if you have to make arrangements so that you'll have time off from, if you're going to school or whatever, like, or if you have work, then that can be, a bit.
That's 3 days before opening day, or
no, 3 days before.
3 days before the day of the show that you requested.
Yeah.
And
this is if you're in a fan club, right? Like, so just so everybody's clear, like, if you're in a fan club before every show, usually like a really infuriating number of months before every show, like so far in advance, it's impossible to plan properly. You get you get mailed ticket forms and you apply for the number and the days that you want, and then you send away for them.
Yeah, and you have to do the bank transfer beforehand.
Yeah, you have to do the bank transfer, and you do that in Japan at a bank. So if you live abroad, that can be a bit of a problem. I think it depends on the fan club. They might have different options depending on what they choose to make available, but for the one that I'm in, it's a bit difficult. So
yeah,
but you know, I got actually when I was in Kyoto and went to see Yamatai, I actually got all the tickets that I applied for, and I had not planned on that. Which was why I ended up watching Yamatai Koku 8 times.
Oh my god.
I mean,
honestly, I think under normal circumstances, you're gonna get what you apply for. Like, especially if you're in Takarazuka. If you're in Takarazuka, and especially if you can sometimes go on weekdays, but even weekends, like I think, and especially if you're in a top star club, or like a Nibante club, like you're typically gonna get what you apply for. Tokyo's more difficult, and like if you're in, like the actresses get different numbers of tickets depending on like where they rank and stuff. So like if you're in a fan club for an actress who either like doesn't have a real fan club or just doesn't get that many tickets, it like sometimes you have a higher chance of your tickets being canceled.
No, but I do think actually that they did give me tickets because I'm a foreigner. So they were really nice about that, because they knew that I was at the time I was an exchange student, and so I presume that they actually did give me the tickets because it was, you know, what do you say, like sorry, but you know that, oh, she's only here for a limited time, and you know we should be nice to her, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's how it ended up, because I did get the updates that you get, because you can set up so that you get the emails from the fan clubs, or from the fan club, and so I kept getting updates. Oh, hey, if you didn't get tickets, da 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 da, right? And every single time that I got that notification, I had gotten them. So that was, I think they did give me tickets. Yeah. So that was very nice of them. Yeah. But I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh gosh, I spent like 80,000 yen.
Take what you can get.
Gosh, you know.
Well, you sat through it for Sante though. So.
Yeah. No, actually, I did like Yamatai Koku. Because I was, you know, I kept looking out for Kazumi Show, you know.
Oh, good. That's a good way to pass the time.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we saw Yamatai Koku 6 times. So. It was a good time, okay.
But you don't have to be in a fan club to take advantage of fan club tickets.
Oh, no.
You, again, this, like, especially if, like, it's somebody's tied on, and especially, like, if it's a top star's tied on, sometimes they won't have enough tickets to go around to give to non-club people. But under normal circumstances, people in fan clubs are allowed to apply for their friends. It's kind of like a tricky balance, because on one hand, like, if you're getting fan club tickets, the rules and the etiquette are very strict. Like, you absolutely have to show up for that show. Like, you can't you can't just flake out. You can't cancel on the last minute. Like, you absolutely have to go. So a lot of people, for good reason, are only willing to help with fan club tickets for people who they like, know and trust. But on the other hand, I think especially for like less popular shows or certain actresses, like, you're, as a fan club member, kind of expected to either purchase, or like, you're expected to be accountable for a certain number of tickets. And like, often the more tickets you get, like, a lot of fan clubs have like point systems and stuff, like the more tickets you get, the more you can work up to you know, some kind of prize, or
Yep.
like the more tickets you buy, gradually the better seats you get and
Yep.
stuff like that. So like on the other hand, a lot of people are often looking to sell as many tickets as possible.
Yeah.
Like, not that they personally are selling the tickets,
Right.
but they, like, the more tickets they apply for through their name,
Yep.
the more it benefits them.
Yeah.
So like, even if you don't have a friend in somebody's specific fan club, like, there are resources like the Facebook group, for example, where you could post and say, I want to go see this show. Is anybody in a fan club who has extra tickets?
Yeah.
But if you want to do that, make sure that you're doing it months in advance, so they actually have the
Yeah.
opportunity to apply for them, because they have to send those papers in months in advance, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Like, to give you an idea, I have a friend who asked me, I think like 2 weeks ago at this point, if I knew anybody who wanted tickets for Robespierre, which is Yuki Gui's next Grand Theater show. Like, so it's pretty far in advance. You don't absolutely have to know that far in advance. There's also what's called Suica tickets, where like once the show gets started and everybody has been distributed their tickets, a lot of clubs have tickets left over, and they try and get rid of them on like a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. They'll send out like an email and say, hey, we've got tickets left. But they'll also help out. Sometimes actresses like will help each other out, and you'll get notifications for shows that even your actress isn't in. And I think a lot of the times it's between classmates.
Yes.
So if you get a notification for a show, then it'll be like through their respective classmates fan club.
So yeah, even if it's like during a show run, you can always, I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say, no, I have no tickets, but you can always ask fan club people if there are tickets left over. Because if there are tickets left over, they are like very eager to get rid of them. So, just, it's important to be fully committed.
Yeah. So I think doesn't the number of tickets also help the actress as well, especially ones that are like kind of up and coming?
Yes.
Like if they're asking for more tickets, then that can kind of indicate that she's able to bring in more people.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an indication of popularity for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, if you've got someone like in particular, if you have kind of a lower ranked actress and she's working her way up, people want to kind of like promote her as well. So so that's another reason kind of why it's really important to, if you're going through fan club tickets, that you actually show up, because that can, you know, it reflects not just on you, but on like the club and the actress as well. So.
And especially a lot of the like non-ranked or younger actresses have like decided seat sections. Like if you're getting tickets from a Top Star or a Nibante, you could end up sitting anywhere. But a lot of the lower actresses have like a little section of seats, and those are their seats. So like if there's an empty seat in there, other people might know who it belongs to, you know. So it's not great. You got to definitely be fully committed.
So
the thing is, like, because not all fan clubs let you have a regular email, you might have to have a Japanese phone email. Right, and that is the only way that, because you get the notification, and sometimes if you have someone who can email them from a Japanese email to set up that you want to have the emails from the fan club sent to you, so they can send it to you if you have a regular email, if someone does that for you, but you may not be able to respond to those emails. So if you do not have a Japanese phone email, you might not be able to apply for last minute tickets.
That definitely varies from club to club though. Like if you're requesting tickets from a friend, like that's not an issue. But if you're thinking about applying to a fan club yourself, like I think that's something you need to work out logistically, just in terms of being in the fan club and not just in terms of getting tickets. So that's fan clubs operate totally differently. So
each one is very.
That's like another episode.
Even between actors, like different sections can be different. But yeah. Anyway,
what I was gonna say is that's like one of the fan club tickets are probably one of the more reliable methods for the other theaters. Like for example, if you want to see Bauhaus or National Tour or, Drama City or one of these other theater shows, they definitely don't sell them through the English website.
Yeah.
And I don't think they sell them through the regular Takarazuka ticket website either. I know they're like, you can still go online through Ticketpia directly sometimes. You can still use the convenience store machine sometimes, but those regular options are not necessarily available in some theaters. So fan club tickets are usually the safest route. At least I think they're the safest route for the other tickets.
It was really weird actually, because I kind of fancied seeing partial time travel, but they wouldn't sell the tickets. Like, we tried to get tickets, like, because they wouldn't sell them through the website, and then we tried to do the go to the kombini to get them, and we couldn't. And then we tried to buy them at the theater, and they were like, "No, we're not selling them." But there were empty seats.
Oh.
Yeah. So Bauhaus is so tiny. I think like most of the tickets go to Tomonokai and to the actresses and stuff like that. I mean, and of course, there's always situations where people can't go and like they just don't show up that day. But yeah, I know it's harder to buy tickets for Bauhaus through normal channels.
Speaking of Tomonokai, so Tomonokai is kind of like the overall like fan club for Takarazuka, the review, and I believe they have like special pre-sales for at least Grand Theater and Tokyo tickets.
They do, but it's a lottery.
Yeah.
Like you apply and you might get a ticket. It's not like a couple days before Tomonokai people can just like go online and start buying tickets.
Oh, okay.
But you can apply for the lottery and sometimes you might get a ticket. I think like other than, friends and family and important rich people, most of the SS tickets go to Tomonokai.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so hard to get an SS ticket from like a normal place.
Yeah, you can't buy them like on any of the websites or anything. So.
And I'm pretty sure you have to like be in Japan with a Japanese address and a Japanese phone number to be a member of Tomonokai.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. I've never tried personally.
All right, so that's kind of just like your general overview of buying tickets kind of like beforehand, but there are a couple through like the typical like general channels. If you happen to miss out and or know all the tickets are gone and you either don't have fan club connections or you can't get them through websites, there are a couple other ways that you can go see the show either the same day of, or you can go through some secondhand sites where people will resell their tickets, but definitely expect for those to be marked up and sometimes quite a lot. So depending on again your resources, you might be fine paying extra money for some much closer seats, in which case if you have the resources that's great, but there are a few different places you can go to find resale tickets online. I think most of them you have to have, it searches in Japanese, so you'll need to like know the name of the show in Japanese. But I believe I was told that one of them you can use a regular credit card, but mine didn't work when I was there. You have to have a Japanese address though. But supposedly it was supposed to use regular, even international cards like Visa card, but mine didn't work when I tried it. Yeah, there are a few other ways that you can do that. Is also proxy sellers can help you with these secondhand sites, but they're going to charge a service fee for that. So that's going to add on top of your marked up ticket. You're going to have those proxy service fees, which again, if you don't have any other recourse, I guess, in order to get tickets, that might be your one way to do it. Sometimes if you're just really like, if you get really anxious about it and you're just willing to pay the money, that can be a good way too, because then you don't have to worry about it. Just be like, I want this day, this ticket, like this is my price range and I'll do it, that type of thing. And then, but again, a lot of the times those prices are going to be marked up, and the more popular the show and the closer that the seat is, it's going to be more expensive. So it's really fun to go look at what the like SS tickets for tie-dons go for.
But if you like absolutely, you know, it's like your once in a lifetime chance to go to Japan and you want an SS ticket, like that's where you're going to get an SS ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and I usually justify it by like, this like triple price ticket is still cheaper than a Broadway ticket, so I'm going to do it.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, both the main resale sites are ticket.co.jp and Ticket Camp. And I've used both of them, but they're always like ridiculously expensive. Yeah. And I've never tried to use the first one by myself. I like finally this year braved using Ticket Camp by myself, but it was like really nerve-wracking. I almost always had Sandy do it for me, but it becomes like, again, expensive on top of expensive because of her service fee. Both of them, like, you have to have a Japanese phone number, which sucks. And like, it's not just that, like, you have to have a Japanese phone number within like a certain provider because they text you all these confirmation codes for safety and stuff like that. Wow. But so Ticket Camp has an app that you can chat through. So like when I finally used it myself, I had my Japanese friend put in her phone number for me. So I registered. And then when I bought the ticket, I like messaged the person like, my phone's broken, please use the Ticket Camp messenger only. Or something like that. Nice. Like, and like I was so anxious about it because she could have been like, no. But it ended up working out. So that was like, I don't know, if you're brave, that's fine. Can I talk about Okepi? Okepi's my favorite.
Yes. Oh yeah, I never remember the name of this website. But you've had such great luck.
I love Okepi. Okay. Okepi is not it's not a resale site. It's almost like it's almost more like a message board. It's not like a message board format, but tickets are listed like a resale site. And it's mostly people asking to trade tickets. Like they either, you know, they got fan club tickets or they got Tomonokai tickets to something that they don't want to see. And they want to see this other show, so they just want to do a straight trade for tickets to another show. But a lot of them will also sell their tickets, and it's very rarely marked up. It's usually face value or for a discount because the people selling them are usually desperate. Like they show up within a few days before the show and like their friend canceled or whatever. You have to be able to communicate in Japanese. This is not something you can really like muddle your way through. But so you find a ticket that you want. They have like a form that allows you to contact this person. I usually say something like, I'm from New York and I'm only here for a short time and it would just make my entire trip if you let me have your ticket. You have to read what the deal is because some people want bank transfer and then to mail you the ticket if they can't go personally, but some people, if their friend canceled, will be at the theater anyway. And most of the times I've used this site, I just meet them at the theater and then give them cash, which is perfect because I can't bank transfer. But yeah, I absolutely love this site. I often use it even when the show isn't sold out and I just want a better seat for like the correct price. And I've had pretty good luck with it. And it's not just for Takarazuka, it's for literally anything. I've seen lots of random OG shows through Okepi also. And yes, that's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. I got, it's also a really great place to get Kashkiri tickets because you can't buy those. But a lot of people who get Kashkiri tickets, like, don't really want to go. It's like obviously sometimes they do, but I think in a lot of situations they get these tickets through their company and they don't actually care and they just kind of want to get rid of it. Like I got a really good seat to All for One.
I was gonna be like, please tell your All for One story.
Oh my god, my All for One story. It's gonna be too long. All for One story. Well, I wanted to see All for One again, which I wasn't planning on because I didn't think it would be as good as it was. And then by the time I realized this, the only days left that I could go were Kashkiri. So I didn't know what to do, so I went on Okapi, and I ended up getting like a front row center seat by total accident, and it was amazing. So Okapi is my favorite.
It's a good story.
Yeah, highly recommend if you speak Japanese. I do like, because I don't live there and because I usually go to see like something very specific. I usually see a show like a few times from bad seats and try and splurge on like one good seat. So I do use resale sites a lot, but I always check Okapi first because you can find hidden gems for the correct price.
Oh, a couple of notes. The kashikiri, or the chartered, more or less, is kind of how it translates to shows. So like where a company like basically buys out the entire theater and then they give their tickets to employees, or like they do like a Visa card does one for the sponsored.
Some of them will allow tachimi with the shows that they've bought, but some won't. So it depends.
So yeah, but kind of going in with like the same day tickets. Tojitsuken or tachimi. So same day tickets they sell usually in Tokyo. They reserve the last row of seats at the very top of the balcony.
They don't do that anymore for
What?
Tokyo.
Really?
Yeah. For Tokyo, they've decided to stop.
Tachimi?
No. If you do Tojitsu, so they don't have seats anymore that are reserved. They just have tachimi.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the day that I went for Tojitsu and actually got a seat, that was when they hadn't sold those seats, but they weren't reserved, I don't think.
Oh, that's weird. Before they had like the last row of seats was for Tojitsuken, and then you had tachimi. So there was about 80, give or take, because in Tokyo you only have the numbered spaces at the very back behind those last row of seats at the balcony. And so you get your own space at the bar if you're going to do the stand and watch. But that's interesting. I didn't know they stopped doing the last.
Yeah, I think that was a recent development that they decided that they were going to stop with the reserved seats for Tojitsu because they wanted to limit lines.
Oh, I wonder if that's.
Maybe this is a temporary construction thing.
Maybe.
That might be it, especially if the fan clubs are all on that side of the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, for anybody who doesn't know, there's been horrendous construction outside of the Tokyo Theater for months now, just causing all sorts of pain and anguish for everybody involved.
Yep. They're putting in this big, like, they've been doing this construction on this giant building, like right next to the theater, but they've turned the street basically into a pedestrian walkway, and they're like doing all kinds of like construction on this street, what used to be the street there. So hopefully they're almost done. But they've recently restricted supposedly taking photos, so they don't want people to take pictures for irimachi or demachi for Tokyo right now.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so hopefully that is just because of the construction. They'll open the Tojitsuken for the
I hope so.
seats again. And then so in Mura at the Grand Theater, I believe it's also that last balcony row. But then your tachimi, your stand and watch for the Grand Theater, is on the first floor behind the very last row of seats, and it's kind of a free-for-all run at the bar type thing. So you want to like get there early if you're going to do same-day tickets at the Grand Theater. You want to get there early enough so that if you don't get that last row and you're standing, you are one of the first ones to be able to go through those doors. And so you can't be at the bar, otherwise you have to stand for the whole 2.5 hours without like any kind of support around you, so that can get a little tricky. So.
Behind someone else who might be significantly taller than you.
Taller, yeah. So basically how it works is before they'll start selling them, depending on the day, how many shows there are, they'll start selling them at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock in Tokyo, and I think about a similar time in the Grand Theater as well.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you go, so we'll talk about Tokyo first because I've done that one more. So in Tokyo, you will line up right under the overhang, it'll start the ticket line right where the ticket window is. So you'll go to the theater and there's kind of an overhang over the entrance, and you'll kind of line up and you'll kind of see people probably standing there unless you're miraculously the first one there. But you'll see people kind of lined up, and you'll get in line, and you can't save, like, you can only buy one ticket per body. So like you can't buy like 2 tickets for you and a friend. If your friend isn't there, like, you both would have to go. So in Japan, a lot of the times it's pretty customary, if you have like something to leave to hold your space, you can get there and like maybe leave like a towel or like a bag you don't care to lose. Like usually no one's going to touch it. But you can leave something there and then you can go like get coffee or something. Or if the line started moving yet and you wanted to go watch like Irimatu when the actresses are coming in, you can go stand in the gallery behind the fan clubs. But otherwise you can usually see pretty well from where you are. But you can leave something to kind of save your space for a bit. So depending on the show and depending on the day, you'll want to get there pretty early. So for obviously on weekends where there's going to be more people who have more time, it'll be you want to get there a little earlier. For super popular shows, like for Elizabeth, for example, you want to get there really, really, really early. We did Tojitsuken for Elizabeth on Monday last year. It was either Sunday or Monday, and I think it was Sunday actually. So luckily we were staying walking distance from the theater. We got there about 4:45 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was we were like the third ones in line, so we were there really early. But yeah, so again, depending on the show and the day, you'll probably want to aim for Tokyo probably sometime around 6 or 7 o'clock or so. If you especially now if they're not doing the seats in the back, then you've only got like 40 spaces to get for Tokyo. So and that will be the Tachimi. So you want to get there pretty early, and then they'll start selling the tickets around 9:30 or 10, depending on when the first show is. And when you get up to the window, they'll show you. They'll have a little diagram of like which seats are available, and you'll like kind of point to whichever ones you want, and then you'll just pay. You can do cash or card, but cash is easier. And they're pretty cheap. They're between, I think they're about 2,000 or 2,500 yen. So it's a really good way to go see a show multiple times on a budget if you are really wanting to go see something a lot, but don't want to spend a lot of money on it. And then in the Grand Theater, kind of similar. I guess I can't remember for Tokyo how they split the lines, if there's 2 different shows and they happen to be doing Tojitsuken for both, but I don't think it's very common anymore because a lot of the times the shows that they have 2 shows, one's a kashikiri, because they have so many kashikiris anymore. But in Takarazuka, you go and then outside, so there's like the gate that they'll keep closed until the theater's actually open. And you'll line up on either side of the gate depending on which one you want to go to, either the morning show or the afternoon show. I believe the morning show is typically as you're facing the theater, it's the line to the left, and then the afternoon show is going to be on the right. But if there's just one show, it'll be, I think, just on the left side. You can always like go up and ask the last person in line, and there's usually a employee out there in like the uniform that's like kind of just making sure things are orderly and well and everything else. And you can like ask them like, oh, which line it is if you're not sure, and they'll direct you to like the proper end of the line. So yeah, and then they'll let you. So for Grand Theater, they'll let you in, and they'll like lead you in. You'll be in this little like parade of everyone who is hoping to get tickets for that day, and they'll lead you in through the theater and walk you all the way down to the ticket desk, ticket booth, and they'll line you up again. And if you'll get up to the counter, and if there are any other seats available, you can buy whatever other seats there are. So when we went for Land of the Gods and Classical Bijou, there were actually quite a few seats left for the day that we were there. But we were fairly late in line, so by the time we got there, there was just the tojitsuken, the seats in the back of the balcony were available, but they had a few, like, I think they had a couple of eseki, and they had a few of each section open still, so people had bought all of the remaining, like, non-tojitsuken seats by the time we got there. And same procedure, you just kind of point at which ones you want, and you'll pay, and they'll give you your tickets. If you're doing tachimi for the Grand Theater, again, since it's kind of like an amalgamous form of people at the back of the theater, there's not like assigned spots like there are in Tokyo. You will get a number, and that's when and then you have to arrive at the theater, the main entrance to the theater itself. I want to say it's like 10 or 15 minutes before the show. And then they'll line you up according to your number, and so that's why you want to get there earlier if you are doing tachimi, because that's kind of like how you will enter the tachimi space is per your number in line. So if you are like 40, I don't even know how many they have.
I think they let in about 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's that wide, and
it is pretty wide. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're like at 80 as opposed to like 20, you'll probably be at the back. So that's more or less how it works. And again, it's pretty cheap, about 2,500. I think it's fairly similar in price. So and yeah, it's not bad if you can physically do tachimi. It's actually not too bad. You can sit down during intermission, of course, but generally you're not supposed to actually sit during the show. So
what I like to do if I'm tachimiing, which might be bad, I don't know, but I'll like, especially in Tokyo, but also in Takarazuka, if there's no one standing behind you, like I like to take a step back, and then I can just like dance along with the shiens a little bit to the songs. Which you can't do if you're sitting down, because you need to sit still if you're sitting in one of the seats, because you're not allowed to lean forward, or, you're supposed to sit very still. So I kind of enjoy tachimiing because I can get my groove on. But I don't know if you're not supposed to do that or not allowed to do that, but no one stopped me yet. As long as I'm not disturbing anyone, I'm like...
Yeah, I know at the very center of Tachimi for Tokyo, that's actually, you're right below where they do the spotlights. So they'll tell you not to like stick your hands up or anything like that. Like, so just be very, very mindful if you are doing Tachimi in Tokyo and you happen to end up right in the middle. So I think the first time I ever did it, we were in the middle, and it was a little like, oh no, like I was a little worried I was almost too tall, but it was fine. So they're not actually too bad from the very back of the balcony. Like you can see pretty much still everything. Obviously the angle's going to be a bit different. The only thing that you really can't see is kind of like the top of the grand staircase. So, but otherwise you still have a pretty good view of everything. Yeah. So.
And the Mura one, I think you can actually see the top of the grand staircase, maybe.
I think not. Like if the Shen is standing at the top, you might be able to see her feet. But like you can't actually see her standing.
Due to the angle, you can see a lot more from tachimi in Mura than you can from tachimi in. I mean, because since it's the balcony in Tokyo, you're going to be up, so you're going to see it from above. But in Mura, you'll see it from like. Kind of, from the front, kind of thing.
Floor level.
First level.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've actually never done tojitsuken because whenever I go to Japan, I work at night like a crazy person. But so if you guys have more experience with this, correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe there are like special rules for special days, like Shonichi and Senshuraku and Taidan especially. Like I know that they post the tojitsuken information on the homepage of the website the day before or 2 days before, something like that.
The night before.
The night before. But certain days, I think there's a lottery when you get there. Like how early you arrive doesn't necessarily guarantee your spot. But you like, I know I've heard from some people that they like pick a number and your number is your position in line to like get the ticket. So that can happen sometimes. And I remember on a past episode, Jen said something about like calling a phone number in Tokyo, but I've never done that. So.
I did that for the last day of Yamataikoku.
We all went together. It was a good time. Okay. I cried so hard.
But basically what I did was, because they update it on the news page on the website, so that's in Japanese, but they update it and they say, okay, for the Senshuraku, we will open the phone lines at 10 a.m. and you call this number and you talk to the ticket person and you say like how many you are and, you know, just, and then you get a number, and then the next day you turn up at the show. I think it's at 2. So the show starts at about 3 or 3:30. 3:30. You turn up at 2, or a couple of minutes before, and at 2 they start calling out numbers. So they'll be like, okay, the person who got number 1 stands over here, and then 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then you have to like wait for them to call out your number, and then you'll go and into the spot that they tell you to stand in the queue, and then it's kind of the same thing as tojitsu or you know tojitsu, because in the order that you're standing in line, that's the order that you'll be allowed to get tickets. And if people don't turn up despite having gotten a number, then they're out of luck, you know? Yeah. So that's how you get those tickets. And I'm guessing it is so that people won't line up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably line management for any special show that would draw like a bigger than usual crowd, because it's like a traffic hazard or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually was getting my sofa delivered on the very same day that I was, like, at the very same time that I was making the call. So I kind of forgot that I was going to phone at 10, you know, on the dot. So, like, I checked my phone, like, 3 minutes before 10. I was like, okay, right, in 3 minutes. And then I kind of just, you know, checked my phone the next time, and it was, like, 10:15. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to get a ticket now, kind of thing. But then I phoned, and I got through on, well, the first call didn't go through, but then the second call did. And I got number 8. And I was like, 8? Wow. Are you sure it's not 80 or something? But no, I got number 8, and you know, so that was great. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know how much pressure there is on the phone lines, or
I wonder if it's like if they assign you a number in the order that you call, or if it's like a random lottery situation, like the 8th person doesn't necessarily get 8, you know?
Yeah. That would be weird. It's like lottery within a lottery.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would hope it would be the way that you get the number in the order that you call them.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. I've never done it.
Yeah, worked out.
I have scalped tickets several times. Scalping sounds like, like way too harsh word in the situation, because like the image I have of scalpers is like, you know, people trying to make money off of unsuspecting tourists. But the people trying to get rid of their tickets outside of Takarazuka theaters are pretty much always selling them for face value. I've never had like a markup situation. It's probably illegal to sell them at a markup and to like actually be outside doing it, like I don't know, I'm speculating, but I've never had like marked up scalp tickets. And I've done it a handful of times, and the only time I didn't get a ticket was to Bakumatsu Taiyoden on a Saturday this past time. But every other time I've had luck, including to Shinjin Koen and to Bao Hall.
Wow.
So it can definitely be done. I think this is another situation where it helps to be foreign, like, because there's always like a bunch of people waiting outside the theater, and if someone when the ticket comes, all the old ladies like swarm at her, and if you're like in the back but you're taller and you're obviously foreign and you can be like, I'm going home tomorrow, like, they're more likely to pick you out of the crowd. I know it's terrible to say that, but it's kind of true.
Oh.
So like, yeah,
I think that's great
turn on your foreign charms. But yeah, so at the Grand Theater, if there's excess tickets, and this actually happens frequently, like the spot to stand for scalping is like outside the gates to the entrance closest to like Takarazuka station. So like if you go in the main gates, and you can choose to go like to the right is Bow Hall and to the left is the Grand Theater. It's like right outside those main gates. And if there's excess tickets, there'll either be people standing there holding their tickets face out, so you can literally shop them. Like you can go down the line and look at the seats and pick the best one. Or if there's not excess tickets, you stand in that spot holding your wallet as like a sign that you want to purchase tickets, and people coming to the theater for the show who have extra tickets will walk up to you. And it's the same situation at the Tokyo Theater, except it's actually, it's normally outside of Shanter, the department store across the street. When I did it for Bakumatsu Taiyonin, it was still there. I do not have like an up to the minute construction update. So that is like, that could change day to day. I don't know, but normally it's outside Shanter.
When we were there for Yamataikoku, I actually tried with Taylor, who recently moved there, and it was around the corner, so down by the now sadly departed Starbucks, but on the Chanter, like the Chanter entrance. So it was kind of around the corner there, but we didn't really. Like, you could see people standing with their wallets, but unfortunately people also tend to gather outside of Chanter waiting for it to open at like 11 o'clock. So I think that confused people. So we didn't actually get, like, she stood there like to see if I could grab tickets last minute for a show on a weekend, but it ended up working out because we walked by the theater after we kind of struck out that way, and then my club ran up to me with extra tickets, so that worked out too. So it was just like kind of like serendipitous at that point. But so I think each kind of worth mentioning that like each different venue kind of has like different sort of designated, unofficially designated spots where you can go looking to if you want to buy tickets. At the theater. So yeah, in Tokyo and in Takarazuka, we just mentioned those. Bow Hall, I observed it being right out across from the stairs by the cafeteria area inside the theater. Is that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the one time that we went to go see Bow Hall. I did notice that. But I don't know if there's another place that you've observed.
It was a little confusing actually when I went. I got a Bow Hall ticket that way this past time. I saw partial time travel that way. And I also got it in the like outside the gates. But they were all mixed up because it was like it started a half hour before Yamataikoku, so like there were like 6 people there holding Yamataikoku tickets, and I was like, these people are obviously for Hanagumi, and I was standing there with my wallet for like a half an hour while there was somebody with a Bow Hall ticket there the entire time, and I was just too shy to get close enough to see like what it was. But then eventually I was like, you have a Bow Hall ticket. Got it.
That's the one I want.
So yeah, I guess it varies, but you'll usually see at least like 1 or 2 other people either doing the same thing as you or holding tickets.
There were
somewhere.
So many people selling Hanagumi tickets for Yamataikoku outside. It was a mess.
Oh no.
It's so sad. I feel so bad because of that show. Like, I think a lot of people get like a ton of fan club tickets expecting it to be normal, and then it's not, and they're like, damn it.
I happily sat through all 6 times because of reasons.
No, I really enjoyed Yamataikoku, and one of the better things about it, I thought, was the fact that it was so easy to understand.
That's true.
It was surprisingly easy to understand. Like, the first time I saw it, at the end of it, I was just, like, mostly, like, proud of myself because I understood the entire thing. And then, like, I kept thinking about it all night, and I was like, wait, I think I hated that.
Oh, no.
But, like, my first reaction was like, oh, yeah, I totally know what happened. Anyway, we're digressing.
Yeah. I don't want to say that it tricks you into liking it or anything, but it's like it's got great aesthetic, and as a foreigner, you're like, oh my gosh, my Japanese skills must have gotten so fantastic, you know. And then it's like, no, actually, you're just the same level as you were yesterday. It's just the show.
Okay, I'm gonna gently bring us back to theater visiting.
Sorry.
It's okay. So yeah, so we already talked about getting there. We talked about picking up your tickets.
Yeah. But there's if you're getting tickets through fan club and you're not in clubs, you might not know exactly the procedure.
True.
Yeah. So if you arrange your tickets through fan club, and if you have done, maybe for example, you've arranged it such that you actually haven't paid yet, you'll have to bring the amount with you, obviously, and you're supposed to bring like the exact amount. Like they won't do change necessarily, but
sometimes they want you to have it in an envelope as well.
Yeah. Nice, like a presentable envelope.
That's like a Japanese culture thing in general. Like anytime you're paying somebody for something, it's polite to have it in an envelope. Sometimes the fan club expressly says like put this exact amount in an envelope with your name on it and like your friend's fan club number, like all of this stuff. But even if they don't say that, it's polite to put it in an envelope.
Yeah. So you'll look for, they'll usually set up about a half an hour before the show, or a little bit before that, like they'll get set up, and there'll be tables in Tokyo. They're right outside the theater, kind of as you're looking at the theater, to the left of, or sometimes right underneath the overhang if it's raining, but they'll be kind of to the left of the ticket booths, and they'll have tables with all the actresses' names on it, or sometimes they're just standing, I guess, and you'll go up to the actress, the staff, the club staff that are there, and usually if you're foreign, they'll know exactly who you are right away.
Yeah, they're like already taking out the ticket by the time that you're there,
or
even if they've never seen you before.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
they'll be like,
you're the one name I can't pronounce, probably.
Yeah, but it's still nice to like say give a greeting, and then they'll show you the ticket, and then you'll hand them over the money. And usually, like, they don't know, they'll just, like, double check it. And obviously, just, like, say thank you and whatnot. If you have any Japanese, just, like, basic, please and thank you, it goes a long way. But otherwise, it's pretty simple. Like, it's not, even if you don't have a lot of Japanese, again, when they see you, they'll probably be like, oh, yes, these tickets are for you. So it's pretty easy to do. It's not that intimidating at all. And you'll get the little envelope, and you'll have your tickets inside, and you just go to the theater, so it's pretty easy. And then, with the will call, if you get it through the website, if you do it through the English website, like we mentioned earlier, you'll just go to the ticket counter itself. It's good you have either a printout of the email that you get. It'll have a number on it that they'll look it up, or if you have it on your phone, they can look it up that way too. And then they'll just bring it to you, and you'll go and you'll attend. It's pretty easy. So.
And in Takarazuka, the fan clubs are actually in the building, in the lobby.
That's
Did
right.
you say that?
Yes. Oh, no, I forgot. Yeah. They're in the lobby by where the sofas are, across from the ticket windows. So they're very easy to find because there's a bunch of people kind of standing all together. But yeah, so it's pretty easy to do. I have down here what to wear. Mostly just want to make a note of, like, there's no dress code, but if you wear, like, scrubby clothes, you'll feel very out of place.
Unless, like, that doesn't bother you, of course.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like, oh, whatever. But most people will kind of, like, dress nice-ish. Some people, you'll see maybe some older women in kimono, actually, or yukata. But most people will wear, like, I say, kind of dress like you would go to church, I guess, if you do that thing. But just kind of, you don't have to. Again, you can wear more or less whatever you feel comfortable in. But again, if you feel awkward when everyone else is kind of like a little more nicely dressed, then maybe kind of plan for that. But again, there's no dress code, but it's just kind of like something, whenever I'm there, I always feel like I want to dress a little more nicely than I do. In my normal life most of the time, I guess. Yeah.
If you're going for tojitsu in the wintertime, though, you might want to wear jeans and stuff like that, though, so don't panic about it.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. yeah, especially if you're doing like tojutsukan, like, you know, I wouldn't show up in pajamas necessarily, but
Just whether appropriate for sitting outside for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like no one's gonna like say anything to you, but
But you know, Heidi, not showing up in pajamas, Chinatsu has taught us that pajamas is totally okay.
well,
Yeah,
when you're Chinatsu, then you can show up in pajamas and deny that they're pajamas, even though they're really fancy pajamas, but that's fine. So, just for reference, Hozuki-an, who's in Hanagumi, she showed up wearing this outfit. She's always very fashionable, and but they looked very much like pajamas, and one of her fan club members actually asked her pajama, and she was like, no, but we found them in a department store later, and they're totally pajamas. So.
Like, what shop assistant tricked her into thinking they weren't pajamas, you know?
They definitely look like pajamas. It was just very, very funny. So. Anyway. Yeah. All right. So, kind of our last little bit before we wrap up here. Any suggestions for places to eat or things to do around either theater?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Carly, you can.
When I'm in Takarazuka, I always go to either Izumi or Angel Love. Mostly because the people who run them are super, super nice, and I love talking to them.
Yeah.
Also, Angel Love has the best coffee jelly in the world.
Nice. Just Natsuko-san's food is amazing, so.
I tend to go, well, me and Kitty have gone to the place called Pasta quite a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really tiny restaurant, but it's price worthy, and yeah, it fit really nicely within our budget, so we just went there a lot. And there's also a sandwich shop. What's that called? Like Lehman's or something?
I don't know.
But you can get your sandwiches there before you go into the theater, and then you can eat them in the intermission or whatever. And I think there's actually the same brand, like the same chain of sandwich stores, because there are two, so I'm presuming it's a chain. It might not be, but they're called the same, but one is on the other side of the river.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I've been to London, which is on the other side of the river too. The little cafe.
Yeah.
They also have sandwiches there. But yeah, Angel Love. We went to Angel Love a couple times when we were there this past time, and spent like 3 hours there both times. So
they have like albums of photos and postcards and stuff you can look through from like years and years and years. It's really, really fun.
It's amazing, and always any kinds of like stories and things like that. We love to talk to, especially like foreign fans. They're really excited to chat with you. So definitely go and say hi. But yeah, pretty much any restaurant or shop you go into in Mura is going to have like signed posters and things like that up. So it's always really fun even just to kind of walk around, while you're there. So
immediately around the theater, a lot of them close kind of early because like as soon as the show is over, just everybody leaves. So like the businesses close early. But if you walk away from the theater a little bit, there's actually like surprisingly a lot of really good like hole in the wall food in Takarazuka. Yeah. Like there's a really good Thai restaurant, there's a really good Indian restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah, they're great. Tokyo, I know less well. I always just end up eating in the Muji Cafe, which you can like sit at the window and watch the outside of the theater.
We did that on our very last day, like before we went on the plane. In Tokyo, Chanter is under construction now, unfortunately, but usually the very last floor of Chanter, there are a lot of restaurants, but also around that area is like the Yurakucho area, kind of underneath the bridge for the Yamanote line. There's it's just actually like a couple blocks, or not even a couple blocks, like it's kind of hard to describe, but if you walk kind of there's this whole kind of alley that has a bunch of like restaurants and stuff, and it's got like ramen and like yakitori, and there's a nice sushi place kind of on the end there that we've been to several times as well. But that's also, it's like spitting distance from Ginza, and there's a lot of stuff in Ginza as well.
Everything.
Huh?
Where there's everything.
Literally everything. So, and then, so if you wanted to stay in the immediate vicinity, there's lots of stuff. There's actually a really nice Italian restaurant, kind of around the corner from the sushi place, as well. We've been to several times, and there's a pretty good yakiniku place that's actually fairly cheap on top of, gosh, I can't remember. There's a department store like on the other side of the bridge in Ginza that is like maybe 2,500 to 3,000 yen for like a whole like yakiniku lunch set. So if you go there before like an afternoon show, it's pretty good if you like yakiniku. So
there's a Jonathan's in that like Yurakucho area, which
yeah.
I inevitably end up crying in at some point, even though I don't want to like eat Jonathan's food just because it's open 24 hours. And like even though Tokyo, like, it's normal, like stuff in Japan just closes early. Like things close at 9 and 10, and if you go to the night show and you just like don't want to go home,
you just want to cry instead.
I don't know. I feel like all of the foreign fans have been in that Jonathan's.
Funny you say that, because we went there after Senshiraku.
Yeah.
Like all of us who went, it was a good time.
And also, like, specialty recommendation. If you're walking towards the former Starbucks RIP, there's a vegetarian restaurant underground there. Like, it's kind of hard to see from the outside, but there's like a sign for it and a staircase down, and then a vegetarian restaurant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you're a vegetarian.
Cool. Yeah, I think that the new complex, the building that's going in, is it looks like there's going to be a lot of shops and restaurants and stuff there as well. So
yes.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to open in March, I think.
Yeah.
Allegedly. I don't know. I feel like Japan probably sticks to its open dates for the most part. But
they've been building that building for like 3 years, so.
Yeah, I was looking at the website and it seemed like there was something called like Gourmet Alley or something like that. That looks like it had a ton of places to eat. So that'll be fun.
I'm hoping they put the Starbucks back in. I miss the Starbucks. Yes. Any last notes, thoughts?
No, I think like if you just explore the areas around the theaters, you're gonna find things that you like and want to do, and just there's a lot of karaoke places in Mura, and so I mean there's stuff to do, especially around the Tokyo Theatre because it's so central. So you're not going to be bored.
Speaking of karaoke, there's a Big Echo, which is the red karaoke chains, that has a Takarazuka room. It's like, I wish I could remember exactly which one it is, but it's very close to the theater. And you can like pick like special projections to like put on the room, and it's a good time. So, I highly recommend if you're still feeling really like Zuka-y after the show. So, yep.
I think that was everything.
Yeah, I think so.
We covered it.
Amazingly. So I think that's it.
If you have any like specific ticket related questions, feel free to leave a comment on the blog. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good one. Bye.
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.